sinusuot yan. Alright, so our discussion for today is actually about project orienteering. I think I haven't discussed to you yet what is project orienteering, so let me just give you like an example first. So pretend that you're actually lost in a vast place, which is, let's just say, a forest. But the problem is, the only thing you have in a forest is only a compass. And to get to your destination, which is, let's say, a city, you only have to use that compass to get there. So that is the meaning of orienteering. Orienteering is like traveling from one place to another, but it's not actually just traveling. You're actually trying to get to that particular place in a very systematic method, or rather, you're trying to figure out things to solve the problem. The problem is you're lost, and the solution is to get there without any problem. Now that is what we mean by orienteering. When it comes to speaking, there are many kinds of topics in the world of English. Like it can be anything, like the chicken, this microphone, this laptop, and everything. It can be anything. And although even the simplest things, I mean, even if it's just a very simplest thing, there's also what we call an underlying problem to it. So let's just say the topic is about chicken. So yeah, the chicken. Or what about a chicken? How do you breed chicken? How do you take care of chicken? How do you cook chicken? And things like that. Now the point of our project orienteering is to get the students to speak and speak more. Because as we all know, I mean, during our school days, in the Filipino setup classroom, most of our teachers always focus on grammar. I mean, I'm not sure if some of your teachers or professors have shared to you this one, but actually, my professor during college shared to me that during our time in school, most of our teachers has focused on teaching us grammar. That some of the Filipinos, according to study, have difficulty in speaking fluently. But when you give them grammar exams, they're actually very good at it, right? So that's about it in a statistical study. Now, what? Let's try to use the example of our niece. Do you have like a niece or a little? Do you know some little children who can actually speak fluently in English because of watching Peppa Pig, right? Let's say, how about your daughter or your son? Let's say, for example, I have like a niece who speaks rather fluent English, and she's like, "Oh, Uncle Raph, have you seen my doll? I think I put it somewhere here." And she has that kind of distinct accent, like I think English accent or British. I'm not sure, just for watching Peppa Pig. But my point is, she does not have the slightest idea or the technicalities or knowledge about the English grammar, but she can speak fluently. And to top it off, she's just only 3 years old. Now, how do we link those example, which is the statistical study, and well, my niece, to project orienteering? Project orienteering aims to let students or Korean students to practice speaking more. And there are many things that is involved in this one. They can, get the opportunity to speak more instead of focusing on grammar, and as well as following the methodology included in this one. Now, let me just show you some of the just an overview of the things here. Now, I know it may look overwhelming, but actually those details are just the tips. The tip that this teacher can do. Imagine a book, a manual. It may look overwhelming, but once you read it, You'll get what I mean. Okay. So nonetheless, let's go ahead and go to the steps itself, or rather the methodology. Now, let me just start first by telling my audiences that, of course, we as teachers try to diagnose our students, like trying to get to know them and things like that. How about you, teacher Crystal? How do you get to know your student?
Asking questions
Of course,
about
asking
themselves.
questions.
And uh, yeah, just let them talk about
Right.
themselves,
Okay.
about what they do every day.
Mm,
Yeah, their routines,
mm.
daily routines.
All right. So yeah, actually, one of the basic things we teachers do to get to know our students is just asking them questions. As easy as that. Sometimes trying to find common interests. Oh, do you play games? I also play games, and things like that. So yeah. So aside from that one, I just want to include here or emphasize the five foundations of speaking, which is the first one is narration, or rather the student's ability to narrate things. The second one is description, which is the student's ability to put or describe things using adjectives or adverbs. And next one is explanatory, the student's ability to explain things, why. Fourth one is logical, provide solid evidences, which is actually a higher tier of this one. And fifth one is rhetoric, or rather persuasive ability of the students. Like, oh, you're the students' ability to convince us as teachers about what they're saying. So that's about it about the five things. Now, these five things are the, like I said, the five foundations when it comes to speaking. And the one, two, three, and the E, narration, description, explanatory, is like one of the low, lower tier level of this five foundations. And the higher one is logical, which is trying to find evidences either from the internet or books or anything. And the fifth one is persuasive ability of the student. Now, so these are just some descriptions that the teacher can read. And let me just skip this one. So the first one that the teacher has to do when it comes to project orienteering is, of course, providing keywords for the students can use, or to put it more simply, providing them vocabulary. Because we all know that when trying to learn the language, any kind of language, Japanese, Korean, English, you name it, Filipino, we have to learn, aside from grammar, vocabulary. And for the students to get particular vocabulary for a particular topic, the teacher can give it themselves. But of course, if time is a problem, or how should I say this? Time is on the constraint, I'm not sure. The teacher can actually just get this one using any kind of tools they can use in the internet. It can be ChatGPT or anything, but it really depends on the teacher itself. As long as those keywords, or we call it hashtag keywords, are in line with the topic itself. Let's say, for example, my topic for the student is about mm, making friends in the Philippines, because as we all know, socializing is actually linked to language learning. What about you, teacher? Can you give me just one word that is linked to socializing?
Socializing,
Or making friends?
making friends, social media.
Okay, social media. That's a good example. Now, when it comes to hashtag keywords, it doesn't necessarily mean that the word itself should be one word. It can be two words. That's okay. But as long as it's not a price, okay? Because that's not exactly the essence of this one. Now that's what I mean by hashtag keywords. Now those keywords, rather these keywords, should be used by the student up until the very last step of project orienteering. And they'll keep using that one until they remember these words in their minds. All right. So the question is, Teacher Rebel, how many keywords do we need to use for hashtag keywords? That's a good question. Actually, it can be any number of words. It's up to the teacher's discretion itself. Let's say, for example, the teacher can feel that, oh, I don't think the student can take about 10 vocabulary words. Then you can go ahead and lessen that one to just 5 words. That's pretty much okay.
So does it depend on the student's
Yes,
retention?
yes, correct. Also, depends on the student's attention. If you notice that the students can easily forget words, then yeah, you can go ahead and lessen those words to 5 or 4. But of course, don't make it to 1. All right. So that's about it about hashtag keywords. So let's go ahead and go to the next step, which is using visual language. Or rather, if I may say so, connecting those words. Now, let's say, for example, this is the topic, which is about traveling. And as you can see here, there are many there are many kind of keywords here that is related to traveling. Or let's say the topic is about how are you going to travel to Manila using only the bus. So that's our topic with my student. But the student is not a beginner. Okay, let's just say high beginner for that kind of topic. As you can see here, I tried to link some of the keywords and how they relate to each other. And these keywords, I tried to explain to students what are they. But of course, visual language requires a teacher to, well, visualize them. And what's the best way for the students to visualize is, of course, with pictures. So it's not enough that you try to link with the student itself the words, or rather the hashtag keywords, and also explain to them. It's of course important that we show pictures of the hashtag keywords itself. But of course, it's not all that. Okay, it's not all of it's not every time that we ask questions. When the students try to answer our questions, we make sure that those questions are open-ended questions. Yes, open-ended questions, because the aim here is for the student to speak more and more. I mean, how should I say this? We all know, we are familiar with call center agents, right?
Yeah.
Call center agents. I'm pretty sure we know someone in our life who is not very good in English, but once they got in the call center industry, when they come out, they're like speaking spoken in dollars, something like that. And that is because they keep talking and talking to the customer, and the customer asks them most of the time open-ended questions, and they get enough nosebleed to get their brains out to speak enough English language that they are trained to their limits. So that's what I mean. So my point is here, when asking students questions, we try to break their limit and make them say more than just one little sentence. Okay. So anyway, going back here, visual language is not enough that we connect words. It's also enough, or rather, it's also better if we provide them. Well, this is the right questions. That's what I mean. A visual of the hashtag keywords itself. Now, sometimes we teachers make this kind of common mistakes. I admit that. Like for example, I just give them a picture, pack. That's it. Now, what can you say about the picture? Now the problem is, you
There's
ask
so
them,
many.
yes, you ask them the question. What can you say about the picture? Then the students will try to find as many things in the picture, and they'll get confused what they want to say. Now, let's say for example, I did that mistake, teacher Crystal. What do you think I should have done better?
Maybe choose a specific part in the picture and then
Yep.
ask the student what do you see here?
Yes, correct.
Like apple, what color is it?
Yes,
Be
yes,
specific.
correct. Absolutely. Yes, you're correct. So my mistake is I tried to ask the student all the open-ended question, but the problem is the picture itself is very broad, and there's like a lot of things happening. So I could have done it better, like what you said, to try and pick specific points of the picture and try to ask questions to the student itself, and not make the students go around the picture and
Yes,
look for
yes.
answers. All right, right. But of course, we have to make sure that the picture is actually related to the keywords or
Mhm.
hashtag itself. All right, so that's about it. I wouldn't go into the details. I'm not going to make it any more complicated, but that's actually the essence of it. Now, the next one is actually pathway English. Actually, as you can see here, there's like a how should I say this? There's like some words here that is labeled on some parts of the picture. This is actually another part of, I forgot the name, visualizing the picture. But this one is more like a step-by-step procedure for the students to understand the content of the sentence itself. But since we're focused on the steps of the project orienteering, this one is going to be a topic for another day. But
Mhm.
at least I can give you like a you know a general idea of what it is. We actually call this one pathway English, so I still have to change that one. So the next thing is about describing what happened. Well, in whatever topic you're talking about. Let's say, for example, you actually included a very short story of whatever materials you have read during your talk, because you can actually make the student read some story yourself, because it's still part of speaking. Then yeah, you can actually ask the student describing what happened, or you can let them describe what happened during their day or any kind of things. So that's pretty much it. Number seven, or rather, it should be number eight, but yeah, let's just call it number seven, is expressing action, feeling, or reason. I'm pretty sure you know someone in your life that who has like a really bad day, and oh wait, I'll keep that to myself. Which do you think a person what kind of person would talk more? A person who had a bad day, or a person who had like a neutral day?
The person who had the bad day.
Of course, right. The person who had a bad day. Oh, my student didn't listen to me. Things like that. Yes. Actually, statistics, there are many studies that a person who has like a very emotional day are
Mhm.
more likely to speak than a person who had like a neutral day. And that is actually true. I mean, I can confirm it. Little children can confirm it. My mother can confirm it. You can confirm it. Everyone can confirm it. That a person who has like an emotional day are more likely to speak about it. And that's the same for students. Now the question is, what if the student has like a has like little to zero English proficiency? Let's just say grade one students or grade two. Now that is so difficult, I tell you, right? That is so difficult, especially if the student itself doesn't really want to speak, and she's
Mhm.
like, well, things like
Mhm.
that, right? So yeah, there are like some steps like building rapport with the students, but when it comes to if the student is somewhat cooperative and wants to speak, but has zero to, I mean, less to none English proficiency, then we can actually start feeding them simple phrases or simple sentences. That's pretty much okay. I mean, I mentioned earlier that the student should speak more than one sentences,
Mhm.
right? But for those kind of students, even adult students, we can actually start giving them or feeding them simple phrases. And they're like the exception to that one. But yeah. So that's about it about expressing emotion and feelings. for the students. And the next step would be correcting pronunciation and grammar. Now, the reason I put that on last one is because we don't want the students to get scared
Mm.
on the very first part, because this is like the perception of Korean students who are studying English in Korea. Like they should they're like so focused on grammar that they think that if you speak incorrect grammar in public, they get criticized, and everybody's afraid of being criticized. Yeah, I admit I'm sometimes afraid of being criticized, especially students. Now, the reason why I put that, now going back to my topic, the reason why I put this one on the last part is because we want our students first to get confident and be not afraid in speaking English, not afraid of making mistakes at all. That's the first step. And then once they get their confidence, or once we pull out their confidence like a snail in the shell, then we can start helping them in correcting the pronunciation and grammar. Now this is what oh hey, sure. Oh, okay, okay. So anyway, all that ends our yeah, discussion. We'll continue this one next time. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much for joining our class.
Thank you.
Hi po, applicant. Sige po. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's okay. So, pretty much.
How do I end it?
I think it's this next button.